Hi everybody, MichaelBtheGameGenie here, and on today's video, we're going to be talking about Arcade1Up Ridge Racer. Arcade1Up's second racing cabinet is now shipping to customers, and some people actually have them in their homes. But before FOMO takes its grip on you and you go out and buy it, let's ask the question, should you buy it? So that's right, guys. This is episode 2 in what I'm entitling my self-help series, where I decide whether or not I'm going to buy an Arcade1Up cabinet. Really what I'm doing here is taking a look at newly released cabinets and giving people a positive or negative breakdown on whether or not they should get it. Today we're talking about Arcade1Up Ridge Racer. As most of you have seen, the first Arcade1Up Ridge Racer has shipped and has actually hit the home, and that individual from Canada in the Canadian group posted some pictures of the cabinet today. So I'm sure for all you Arcade1Up enthusiasts that constantly frequent the Facebook groups, Reddit groups, all the other Facebook groups, you would have saw a post from Jill Dunn from the Canadian Facebook group yesterday. Jill actually got her Ridge Racer from Walmart here in Canada, which is a surprise because Walmart haven't been the best at getting their stuff out early here in Canada later, but you can take a look at the box here for Ridge Racer. And I mean, this thing is beautiful. This is definitely one of the nicest Arcade1Up boxes they've done. I don't know if they've hired a new artist, maybe Mason Conrad's doing some work on the side, but you can see they do a great job of exposing the game now. They take clips from the game, throw it on the box. This checkered flag is just the chef's kiss on the box. This thing looks awesome. Arcade1Up have definitely stepped up their game in box design. So she was cool enough to post this information so we can get a look at it and you can get a look at the 5 included games. That was yesterday. Today, Jill has posted her pictures of the cabinet together, and you can see it looks just as good as it did in the renders. I have the Ridge Racer cabinet. I can't remember if these pedals look similar or not, but John D has gone on record to say that he has said he thinks that the pedals are better quality than what came with Outrun. The gear shift looks a little bit differently. Hopefully that feels better, and there is force feedback. Otherwise, the cabinet looks really good. This is also a new marquee design for Arcade1Up, where this is a piece that's built onto the cabinet, so that's really interesting. Here's the front-on look, and yeah, it looks really cool. I will say I am disappointed, much like with Terminator 2, Big Blue, and a lot of other cabinets that came out in this era. There is no coin door, molded coin door on the kick plate. There's not a sticker, there's nothing, so that's a very interesting choice. There's a closer look up again. As you can see, the marquee going across the top. I haven't seen what this is like, but I'm assuming it's just the square light box marquee. But where it's a light color, I'm sure it looks really good. Or is it? I don't know, because that looks like that's actually translucent down there. Interesting. Marquee looks very plain. And we also have the shelf again if you want to lay your beer or beverage there on the screen, same as Outrun. There's another good look to the side. I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful cabinet. So this has done nothing to help stop me with my FOMO. Thank you so much, Jill, for posting these photos. You've made an absolute wave of people drool for this cabinet. So now that it's out, you guys are probably a lot like me and experiencing quite a bit of FOMO whether or not you should get this cabinet. So let's do what we did for Terminator 2 and figure out if this is a must-buy or can we let this one slide. Let's look at the positives and negatives. First off, let's take a look at the positives. Well, immediately, one of the first positives that are going to be coming out here are the graphics. So long have we heard people say they're tired of these early 90s to mid 80s graphics and they wanted to see some more impressive hardware. Something along the lines of a Cruisin' or a Daytona USA. We don't have one of those games, but what we do have is what people have been asking for, 3D rendered graphics on an Arcade1Up cabinet. And this is what we're getting with Ridge Racer. So this is a much more impressive game. For those people that personally don't like the old 80s style arcades, you are getting a higher, I don't know what the term here is, processed, more late 90s 3D rendered arcade game. So for those people that were looking for a more advanced arcade graphical game, you're getting it here with Ridge Racer. What we're getting here is an absolutely beautiful cabinet. Race car red with that cool green on the side there and the white of the image. Everything just looks like it pops, and the marquee is beautiful. It also looks like we've got an improved gear shifter, and the wheel was pretty good in the first wave. Like I talked about earlier, we've got those beautiful polygon 3D graphics that people have been craving for a while, and the game seems to be running pretty smoothly here. We've also got to talk about the fact that the components seem to be a little bit better. This is just going to be a very nice looking arcade in your home. Another positive that I want to talk about right here is rumble steering wheel. So they've actually added haptics. Here, if we go down here, we can see it. Rumble steering wheel haptics added to the arcade machine. So when you're in this position with this guy here, who's definitely going to have lower back problems, you're going to be able to feel this. But some feedback from Jill, Buy Stuff Store, who we know is big in the home arcade space, especially here in Canada, reached out and asked how the force feedback was. Force feedback is only on Victory Lap, Ace Driver, and Rave Racer, not the second Ridge Racer, not the two Ridge Racer games either, which is a very odd choice. So you are getting force feedback, however, it doesn't seem to work on either of the two marquee games, which was a strange touch, but at least they added it, right? Another big feature I want to bring up here is the inclusion of the live button. So much like I've been asking until I can remember, is for Wi-Fi to be included on every one of those cabinets. Everybody remembers who had Outrun, especially the sit-down model. We were lucky enough to get a 5th game, but we had to hook up our machine to our computer to do an update. So that's not necessarily a bad thing with this cabinet. It is live, Wi-Fi connected, and we can connect to the internet and do any updates we need to do. It's an online machine in that capacity. And you can post your leaderboard records against other people in the Arcade1Up Ridge Racer ecosystem. Last but not least, and not a positive that will impact everybody, but here in Canada, this may be Arcade1Up's second racing cabinet, but this is actually the first time that we in Canada have a stand-up Arcade1Up racer. Everybody remembers when Outrun was released, it came out in the sit-down fashion and in a very limited quantity in the States. You could also buy a stand-up, but here in Canada, we had no option to buy a stand-up. I pleaded with the Brick to try to bring one in, and they told me they couldn't. However, now that Ridge Racer is available, we have our first stand-up racer from Arcade1Up. So if you didn't like the sit-down Outrun, found it too kiddish, didn't like sitting on the stool, found yourself ridiculous, didn't fit with your arcade, all the other reasons like I didn't like it, you can now finally get a stand-up racer from Arcade1Up. So guys, those are the positives. Now let's do the inverse. Let's talk about the negatives. So this one's not exactly confirmed, but I talked about how beautiful this cabinet was. It's going to be an absolute stunner in your arcade. But like I've mentioned, one of the things that's very important to me is making sure the arcades are authentic to the original arcade experience, and that includes looks. The Arcade1Up stand-up Ridge Racer looks absolutely beautiful, and I've got to say, I absolutely love the way it looks. I love the artwork, but like I said, I don't have any nostalgia for it. I don't even remember Ridge Racer being in the arcades. So I did a little Google search before I started getting ready for this video to see if I could find a stand-up Ridge Racer arcade cabinet, and I actually could not. I don't know if I'm just missing out on something, but I can't find a dedicated Ridge Racer stand-up arcade. There's this right here, but I've seen another one like this, and this was more so, basically, it looks like it was a conversion, unless I'm wrong. But if you take a look here, here is actually a sit-down version of the Ridge Racer arcade cabinet, and if you look closely at the Arcade1Up cabinet, one for one, this is the exact design that we have. Yeah, so you can see the Ridge Racer there, but if you go down to the sit-down Ridge Racer here, it's the exact same cabinet with the marquee done the same way. Art on the side is the exact same. So it looks like that the art for the stand-up Ridge Racer that we got from Arcade1Up heavily borrows from the art from the sit-down. Now, I could be wrong. If somebody has a picture or can show me a stand-up Ridge Racer that's not this, that's not some kind of conversion, I'd love to see it. I went on YouTube, I tried to find some more information about the stand-up Ridge Racer, and again, all I can really find is the sit-down. I mean, this machine is absolutely beautiful, but it's not a stand-up cabinet. Yet we're getting a stand-up cabinet, and I understand why. I mean, there's complications with Arcade1Up. The sit-down cabinet really wasn't received well. They haven't figured out a way to do it properly, package it, and do it at an affordable price point. The bench sucks, so we're getting a stand-up. But it seems like an odd choice to do a dedicated stand-up on a machine that was in the arcades that didn't seem to have a stand-up, unless I'm wrong. Next up, I really want to go back to the details and specifications, and I want to bring up the fact that this is Arcade1Up's first Wi-Fi enabled racer, and as most people would be absolutely thrilled by that, the idea of being able to race against your friends online, that unfortunately is not the case, as while this is Wi-Fi enabled, which is awesome because it can do dedicated updates and you can share your leaderboard scores, you will not be able to race against other people. So not a huge deal, not a deal breaker by any means. It's not like you could play against other people on Outrun either. However, it just seems like a missed opportunity. The next negative that I want to bring up is more of a before you buy, but as a holdover from the last racer we got from Arcade1Up in terms of the way the controls felt. While the steering wheel was pretty nice feeling and worked okay, the gear shift and the pedals felt very flimsy and cheap. So this is kind of a before you buy. I would wait to hear some reviews on how those particular components, even though we've been told they're slightly upgraded, feel before you pick them up. This is one of the ones where you'll never hear anybody complain about the buttons, at least. And last but not least, this cabinet comes with 5 included games. You get Ridge Racer, Ridge Racer 2, Rave Racer, Ace Driver, Victory Lap. Yep. All included. So we're getting 5 games here: Ridge Racer 2, Rave Racer, Ace Driver, and Ace Driver Victory Lap. Now, me personally, this is maybe just a negative for me, might be a positive for some, but I have no nostalgia for any of these games. I don't remember them. Like I've said countless times, my memories of Ridge Racer aren't based in the arcade. It's just not from my era, I guess, but I just don't have that level of nostalgia. When I think Ridge Racer, I think PlayStation. Sure, this looks like a bomb-ass game, and I had some fun playing it on the PlayStation, but I don't know if I necessarily need an arcade to play it. I'm not sure. Maybe this is just for me and I'm in the minority, but I just don't have the nostalgia for these particular games included on this cabinet that I would for, say, a Daytona USA or that I would for a Cruisin' USA. Those are games I'm more familiar with. Ridge Racer was more of a home console game for me. Anyways, guys, that's just a look at my positive and negatives towards Arcade1Up Ridge Racer. Realistically, what I'm trying to do here is figure out whether or not I want to buy it, while also pointing out some positive and negatives and maybe helping you make up your mind. Now, I'm going to say this openly: never let anybody dictate what you purchase. Always purchase what you want to purchase based on your own decisions, but it's fun to look at videos like this, hear other people's opinions on why they're interested, why they're not interested, and it might help you make your decision as well. Anyways, guys, what I want to know now is how many of you guys out there already have Ridge Racer pre-ordered and you're waiting for your pre-order to show up? Let me know in the comments. If you don't have Ridge Racer ordered, but you're thinking about getting it, let me know which way you're leaning and why not. And last but not least, I want to say thank you so much for checking out the video today, guys. It really means a lot to me. This is Michael B. the Game Genie, and I'll talk to you next time.